Dear children, this is Mentors English Express and I am Sudha Oberoi. In this video, I am going to explain poem number 3, A Tiger in the Zoo, to the students of class 10th from their English book First Flight. This poem is written by Leslie Norris. Let me tell you something about the poet first. Leslie Norris, who was born on May 21, 1821, was a prize-winning Welsh poet and short story writer of post-war period. He taught at academic institutions in Britain and the United States. His literary publications have won many prizes. In this poem, the poet explains the agony and helplessness of a caged tiger that lives in a zoo. Here's the explanation of the poem. He stalks in his vivid stripes the few steps of his cage on pads of velvet quite in his quiet rage. Stalks means to walk with pride. Vivid means bright colored. Pads means cushioned paws of tiger. Rage means anger. The poet says that the royal ferocious wild tiger who is confined to a small cage in the zoo moves to and fro noiselessly and helplessly. This yellow bright colored beast is unhappy and furious because his freedom has been snatched by selfish men for their pleasure. His paws are cushioned so they do not create any noise while he walks with anger. Normally, when somebody is angry, the anger is visible in his actions and his movements are loud, violent, and threatening. Here, the tiger is boiling with anger, but his actions are non-violent as he is trying to control them. He should be lurking in shadow, sliding through long grass near the water hole where plump deer pass. Lurking means to hide or to escape notice. Sliding through means slipping or moving silently. Plump means fat. The poet says that had the tiger been moving freely in sprawling area of dense forest, he would have been hiding behind the tall grasses near some water body, waiting for robust means fat, deer to pounce upon and relish it as his food. Actually, the poet wants to say that the tiger is a great hunter and kills his prey to make it his food. But here in the zoo, he is confined to a small space and has to make do with whatever is offered to him by the zoo authorities. He should be snarling around houses at the jungle's edge, baring his white fangs, his claws, terrorizing the village. Snarling means growling. Barring means to uncover or showing up. Fangs means sharp teeth of animals. Terrorizing means threatening. The poet further says that had the tiger been roaming freely in the forest, he would have been wandering on the outskirts of the forest, connecting the village. There he would have terrorized simple innocent villagers by his loud roar, showing his deadly sharp teeth and claws. There the king of jungle would have been in his fiercest form in the forest, creating a terror and fear among the villagers. The poet means to say that the ferocious beast who is so submissive inside the cage would have been in his scariest form in his natural habitat. But he is locked in a concrete cell, his strength behind bars, stalking the length of his cage, ignoring visitors. Locked means imprisoned. Concrete means building made of bricks, cement, sand, and water. Cell means small enclosure. Ignoring means not noticing. The poet describes the pathetic plight of the wild beast confined to four walls. He says that selfish man has imprisoned him in a strong concrete cell with iron bars. He has lost all his ferociousness and has become submissive, as he is not left with any choice but to stare mercifully. At times, he walks inside the cage helplessly, ignoring the visitors who are responsible for his plight and take pleasure in it. Stanza 5. He hears the last voice at night, the patrolling cars, and stares with his brilliant eyes at the brilliant stars. Patrolling means to guard by taking round in the area. Brilliant means shining or lit up. Stares means to look without blinking eyes. The poet says that the tiger has become dull and listless inside the cage. Instead of growling at the patrolling cars, he sits submissively staring at them. He has got so used to them that it doesn't make any difference to him. He waits for them to pass by and then looks towards bright twinkling stars with his lit up eyes as if pleading to God to set him free from this confinement. So, children, the poet says that we should not be cruel to animals. These animals are mute, but they can feel the torture we bestow upon them. We must be kind to them and allow them to venture in their natural surroundings. We should be stern with the poachers and punish them stringently for slaughtering them. Slaughtering means killing them for their own selfish interests. This will not only restore their freedom and peace, but also strengthen our food chain. After all, they are beautiful creation of God and have a right to live with dignity on this earth. Let's discuss literary devices. First, the rhyme scheme. Last word of first line is stripes, so it is A. Last word of second line is cage. It doesn't rhyme with stripes, so it is B. Last word of third line is quite. It neither rhymes with stripes nor with cage, so it is C. And last word of fourth line is rage. It rhymes with cage, so it is B. Your rhyme scheme is A, B, C, B. Your next device is personification. The tiger is personified because the poet refers to him as he in the poem. Your next device is metaphor. When a comparison is made between two things without using the words like, as, or so, it is said to be metaphor. See first paragraph, third line, pads of velvet. Here, paws of the tiger are compared with velvet. Next device is enjambment. When there is no punctuation mark at the end of a line and the thought of first line continues to second line, it is said to be enjambment. See paragraph 1. He stalks in his vivid stripe the few steps of his cage. There is no punctuation mark at the end of first line and the thought continues to the second line. It is enjambment. See paragraph 2. Sliding through long grass near the water hole, where plump deer pass. Here there is no punctuation mark bit after grass and hole, so the thought continues ahead, that is enjambment. See third paragraph. He should be snarling around houses at the jungle's edge. There is no punctuation mark at the end of houses, so it is enjambment. Next device is imagery. The poet tries to create an image of the tiger in the mind of readers. See paragraph 1. He stalks in his vivid stripes the few steps of his cage. Here the reader can imagine a colorful, beautiful tiger walking to and fro in the cage. He should be lurking in shadow, sliding through long grass. Here we can imagine the tiger hiding in the long grass waiting for his prey, baring his white fangs, his claws. Here we can imagine the tiger terrorizing the villagers by showing his teeth and claws. Stares with his brilliant eyes at brilliant stars. Here we can imagine the tiger staring at stars with eyes lit up as if pleading to God to free him from the confinement. Your next device is consonance. Consonance is when a consonant letter is repeated in a line, it is said to be consonance. See paragraph 1. He stalks in his vivid stripes. Here S sound is prominent. See paragraph 3. his white fangs, his claws. Here also S sound is prominent. See paragraph 4. Strength behind bars. Here also S sound is prominent. Next device is assonance. Assonance is repetition of vowel sound. See paragraph 1. He stalks in his vivid stripes. Here I is prominent. See paragraph 5. With his brilliant eyes at brilliant stars. Here also I is prominent. See paragraph 3. Should be snarling around houses. Here O sound is prominent. See paragraph 4. Locked in a concrete cell. Here E sound is prominent. Next is oxymoron. Oxymoron is use of adjectives opposite in meaning. See paragraph 1, 4th line, quiet rage. Here two opposite meaning adjectives are used to describe the activity of the tiger. Next is alliteration. Alliteration is use of consonant letter at the beginning of two words. See paragraph 2, plump pass. Here P is used at the beginning of two words. See paragraph 4, behind bars. Here B is used at the beginning of two consecutive words. See paragraph 5, he hears. Here H is used at the beginning of two words. And next is onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia is using words which denote sound. See paragraph 3, snarling. Snarling is a word which denotes sound. It tells us that the tiger is growling. So it is onomatopoeia. Children, if you have enjoyed this video, like, share and subscribe it. You can also write your comments in the comments box below. Thank you.